How about now? That looks better. You should be able to hear me. Okay, there we go. You should be able to hear me now. I got that cranked up. Um, so this is going to be a different stream tonight because we're doing some cool stuff. You'll let me explain what's going on here. First of all, um, for those who are eagle-eyed about this, you may notice that the Commodore screen that you see up here that I sometimes start off with is bigger on your screen than normal. It's not, the reason why is because I am not running the emulator tonight. We are actually running off the Commodore 64 Ultimate, the Founders Edition that I demoed a few weeks back. It is live and it is streaming through OBS right now. So what I type here on the Commodore 64 Ultimate, if I type in something like this, whoops, I forgot my quote key here. Hold on. I do something like this. Whoops. It's going to take me a little while to get used to this keyboard. So I'm typing on my Commodore 64 Ultimate, and it is now coming out to the screen. So you can see I am streaming from the Founders Edition here, the gold Commodore 64, and it is now putting it right out through OBS. So that's one step. So the other thing to note is, thanks to the real estate on my desk here, I had to put the Commodore 64 over here. My laptop, which I usually use to kind of monitor my stream, you may notice it's actually running in the background here, and you can see what's going on here through a separate account that I use here to make sure that I have at least somebody watching the stream here. So that is on my laptop behind me here. So that's what you're seeing here. Um, what else? So I am going to show you the features of the Commodore 64 Ultimate. I'll walk through some of the things that you can use to configure it, just some basic stuff. I won't go through all the details and stuff. I'll do a little code here just to show you a little bit about the Commodore, and I'm going to try and take you back to the days when I was a 10-year-old kid and the Commodore entered my life for the very first time. I'd like to take you back there if I can to the what life was like, basically, for kids back in the 80s, um, and just kind of take you through everything and why, specifically, why this computer was so special back then and it's still special today. So that's my goal here to talk about that. I'll also try and boot up a couple games to show you that we can still play games on this. I do have a joystick here. I don't know if you can see it. You know, I can't extend it, but I actually have a physical joystick plugged into the Commodore 64 Ultimate. And what I'd like to do is kind of play a couple games maybe with that, um, just to give you the feel for it and just kind of get back to the old school flow of it a little bit. Couple other notes here. This is a bit of a work in progress, so I've got the sound configured from the Commodore 64 Ultimate. It should be streaming out, through the output here, so you should hear directly what's coming in from the stream. Did you get any games for it or downloaded any games? Yes and yes. So that's another thing I want to show you is the stuff that I've got with it. I mean, not only my own collection of games that I run on the emulator also work on here, but also there's that little cassette thing that I showed you before in the stream. Um, that's already plugged into the Commodore 64 Ultimate. It's a little USB device that comes like a cassette here. That is plugged in. I took a quick peek at it and noticed that there was some demos on there. There's some other cool things in there. There's some games in there as well. Mostly games that I've never even heard of or played before. And like I mentioned before, a long time ago, um, people are still developing games for this system today, like in 2026. They are still creating games for this computer, uh, which to me is fascinating, that people are dedicating that much time, effort, and love to this platform 40 plus years after its heyday. it just it boggles my mind how much love people put for this computer. Um, so let's get into a little bit of this and talk about the Commodore 64 and a little bit of the stuff that we know about it. Okay, so um, again, let's take you back to the date and time. Like I said, I was 10 years old, so early 1980s, we'll call it. Um, for those of you who know your history, um, early 1980s means no internet. Um, there were modems, there were dial-up modems that could dial into long distance BBSs, but there was no surfing the web. There was no finding information online necessarily unless you had it on the BBS or something, which was very, very rare. Um, Computers were not in every home. There were no smartphones. Things like the yellow pages were still very, very prevalent. Uh, what else? CDs weren't even like a thing too much. Compact discs, DVDs were not even heard of back then. Laser discs were back; they were popular, but a lot of things were like VHS tapes, cassette tapes, um, what have you. Things like having a stereo system was a big deal. Um, your TVs were the big, bulky, cathode ray tube types, along with your monitors. Nothing was flat screen. Um, so think about that world as I'm talking about this. So um, when the Commodore um, machines started coming out, they first came out with the Commodore PET, which was a business type of computer in the late 70s, early 80s. Um, that was even more basic than this. You can look up online for some really good videos on the history of Commodore and what these machines were and knowing all the technical specs and everything about them. 8-Bit Guy's done a great job of going through the whole series of Commodore. I do recommend looking at his videos. I'll try and give you what I know about them off the top of my head. Uh, so again, having a computer in your home was a big deal back then in early 1980s. The the notion of having a computer that plugged into your television set usually or plugged into a monitor that you could buy separately. You could buy the peripherals and stuff. It was very, very expensive back then. It was very, again, very big deal because it was exciting. Nobody had computers back then. No one that wasn't prevalent like it is today. Internet, everything like that. Imagine none of that exists. you know. Um, so yeah, this screen kind of greets you, and you have the stuff that I've showed you before. You got the box, the programmer's reference guide, basically, the user guide, all the goodies and stuff that are in there, and yeah, you didn't even like. Even back then, you didn't even get games that came with it usually. It was like you'd have to buy them separately in the stores. So let me take you through a little bit of what you could do with this and what the excitement was. Like being able to do stuff on the computer was exciting because you were, faced with this challenge of, hey, you're this average user and now you're going to become a computer user, which not everybody that you knew could do. This required a little bit of some brain power, a little bit of, having the knowledge, having the skill, the mental aptitude to understand what was going on with the computer. That's the big thing, right? You get greeted with this Commodore 64 basic V2 64K RAM system, 38,911 basic bytes free. Ready. What does that mean? Right? What does all that mean to you, right? So let me take it, real quick, through what you see on the screen here. Okay. First line, Commodore 64, basic V2. Um, that's telling you this is a Commodore 64 system using Commodore Basic version 2. Okay, that's the operating system that you're basically working with. It's a text-based operating system. It's not point and click, although I can show you that hopefully later. with a program called GEOS. Um, that was a big deal. Again, graphical interface system for working with the Commodore. 64K RAM system. That means for your random access memory, like every computer has, and everyone has RAM, um, you have 64,000 bytes of RAM, 64K. Okay, that's it. That's all you had. Back then, it was a huge deal. Today, 64K is nothing. Your photographs, a single photograph can be more than 64K. Uh, again, you're dealing with what you had for working hardware at the time. 38,911 basic bytes free. What that's telling you is that the Commodore 64 is using a certain amount of RAM of that 64K that we were just talking about, and you have 38,911 bytes, or about 38K RAM available to you to do whatever you want. Load a game, type up a program, whatever. Okay. So again, this was the challenge now. It's like, okay, what can I do with this thing? Well, as a computer, um, what was promised to us, and it was delivered. I'll say that too. I mean, promised and delivered when I talk about this stuff. Back in the early 80s, the promise of a computer was you could do just about anything with it. And it was true. Um, if you wanted to create a program to store your recipes, you could do that. If you wanted to play games on it, you could play games on it. If you wanted to type up reports for your business, you could do that. If you had to type up, school papers or do schoolwork with it, a lot of educational software available for you to use. I mentioned using it for business. I mentioned using it for education, entertainment, for games. If you wanted to create music with it, if you wanted to create artwork with it, um, what else could you possibly do with it? There was a lot of forecasting software done for businesses. There was um, scientific stuff you could do with it because again, it could calculate pretty well. Not huge scientific precision, but for that time back then, it was amazing what you could do. You could do some pretty advanced stuff, um, things that today seem easier to do because you can do it with a simple handheld calculator or your smartphone. But back then, none of that existed, so you had to work with what you had. For example, you could do certain math things, right? Let me just get my keys right here. If I want to do print, let's do 12 plus 15. Whoops, whoops. Yeah, I apologize. I'm a little bit rusty with my keyboard strokes here. 15. You get an answer, 27, right? And that's not even typing a program in. That's just typing a command in and to say, give me something, right? You could type in, let's take a number like that. Um, Divide that by, 23. What do you get? You got that number, right? Fast. Can do a lot of stuff, right? So you can do math commands with this. There is a limit to the precision that you could do, obviously, so you have to keep that in mind when you're doing this. For example, if you were to do something like this is a shortcut for the print command, just using a question mark. If you were to type in something like 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3, this is an example from the book, by the way, so bear with me. If I took that huge number and then add in 345 and then one more, let's go in 7895.687, something like that, right? And that's the number that you get. If you add that up by hand, you'll get a different result. Okay, and because the reason why that's happening is the manual actually explains it. Because of the way that it can print and and store data inside of its memory, um, you have to round the numbers sometimes, so you won't get the precision that you may be looking for. At least not from the default like this. Additional precision is probably, excuse me, available. Again, just a matter of programming that in and taking the time to, prepare for that. So that's, your math stuff. Let's see. Let's do some basic stuff here so you can see some programming in action. Let's take a simple command like if I were to type in a number and then do print. I'm typing wrong here because my quote key is actually over here. And we do something like that. Whoops. 20. And then we go to 10. And then we run that. Now we get Commodore 64 just repeating all over the screen. Just a simple program. If we stop that, we'll break that, and we just list it. This is the program that is in memory. Now, this is something that you can't do with a Windows computer today right off the bat, or even an Apple or anything like that. Maybe a Linux computer, maybe. The thing I'm mentioning here is because this is a operating system that allowed you, because it was using Commodore Basic code, um, you could, and sometimes we're expected to be able to write programs right off the bat here. This is a simple program that we're looking at here. Line 10, print that string, Commodore 64. Line 20, go to line 10. So it's just going to keep going back to line 10, printing that Commodore 64 string out, right? And that's how you could just write a simple program. What else could we do with this? There was a way that you could shuffle it. Having things in quote mode, that was a thing you had to watch out for as well. Like this, if we type 10, print, if we do the quote again, and then now we're in what I call quote mode. Whenever you put in a double quote like that, now you can put in special characters and things like that. You could do shift, clear home, and now you make that special symbol there. And if we do something like, again, Commodore 64, if we try running that, now it's doing something different, see? So what it's doing there is because that command I just put in, that shift and clear home, which is that little heart symbol that we saw. If I list that out again, whoops. That little heart symbol you see in there is the symbol for shifting and clearing home. So if I do that now, it clears the screen, right? So that little symbol I put in the quotes mark like that, in the double quotes string like that, is a character that tells the computer, hey, clear the screen first and then print my string. So that's what happens here. We go in, we run it, it's going to clear the screen automatically and keep printing that string, clearing the screen. That's why you don't see it coming all the way down the screen like we did before. We could also do, let's see, what else? Editing tips. I think we could do stuff like this, like 10, print. Oops, keep doing that. I keep thinking the quote's over on the right-hand side, but it's not. It's the shift 2. Whoops. Let's put that in there. So we do something like that. And this, I think if we do a semicolon, whoops, not that. And then we try running that. Now we get even a different format. See, it's now keeping everything on the same line and printing one right after the other instead of just return carriaging all the way down the line like that. If we were to change it to print like this, and then we put a comma, and then run that, now we've got something that's more tabulated, right, in a little column format. So just little adjustments you can make like that using basic code. These are little tricks that you learn as you learn the basic programming language inside Commodore that allow you to do different things. Let's see. This is one that uses variables. It's not very interesting. Here's a simple one we can do. I'll just create a new program here and start typing in this one. This one, CT, this is for counting. Where's my equals? There. 0. We'll say 20. Print. And go into quote mode. So we're going to do Commodore 64. Right. Then we do line 30. We're going to up that counter like that. So we're going to add 1 to that CT variable. Then we're going to do an if-then statement. This is if you're familiar with, if-then statements with BASIC and stuff like that, or a lot of other languages use this. CT is less than 5. Then go to line 20, line 50, end. So it does exactly what we expected to do. Is it goes, count 0, prints out the words Commodore 64, goes to count, sorry, getting on screen here, count 1, count 2, count 3, count 4. When it gets to count 5, that says, hey, it's not less than 5 anymore. We're not going to go back to line 20 and print this again. We're going to go to line 50, and that's where it says run, end the program. Simple, basic language, but it's understandable. Like I said, if you list this, you can kind of read through this and say, okay, I know CT equals 0. I know it's next line, it's going to print Commodore 64, and it's sequential. It follows these line numbers. Line 10, make this variable equal 0. Line 20, print this out. Line 30, add 1 to the variable. Line 40, do a check. If CT is less than 5, then 20. What does that mean? Go to line 20. Print out the line again. Go back to line 20. Print that line again. 30, add the counter up again. Now it's going to be at line, number 2 instead of 0. Line 40, do the check again. Just keep looping and looping and looping until the condition is not true, goes to line 50. So you can follow that logic, and that was the great thing about programming on the computer back then. A lot of people felt like when you talk about a computer programmer, they were talking about people that were super smart. They had to understand everything about these big computers and stuff. They were usually, involving in complex things like machine language and understanding these things that were really not very intuitive. The Commodore 64 was really the first computer, not necessarily to use the basic language. It wasn't the first one necessarily to use BASIC. It wasn't the first one to use an intuitive programming language. What it really was, though, was the first computer, home computer, to use an intuitive programming language, to include it automatically, and to be affordable for everyone, to be able to bring it home and start being a computer programmer. That's what made the Commodore special in the 80s. You could bring this computer home and be a computer operator or a computer programmer, or back then, if you told people back in the 80s that, hey, I have a computer, I know how to use a computer, I'm a computer programmer now, they people would look at you differently. They would honestly see you differently as somebody that was smart, somebody that really understood complex things, because whoa, this computer thing is a new revolution. It was a big deal back then. It was a revolution that we were all going through. Um, and trying to keep up with that was a big challenge. Just like we try to keep up with AI today, it's a challenge to keep up with, right? So just like any new technology curve, it's not necessarily a fad. It was a revolution, and we all kind of lived through that with whatever computer system that we were, fond of. Let's see. So they got 4nex loops and stuff like that. I'll type one more program in just to kind of show you some other stuff here that we could do. Let's do a new program. Let's see. Rem is a remark statement. Whoops. That's like a comment in your programming code. So rem is a remark. 20 print. Let's see. We need to do clear home. I believe yeah, that's right. We'll find out. Equals 1 to 10. Let's see. I'm going to use a colon this time. Print. Let's see. Cursor down. Colon next. Looks good to me. Oh, I typed that wrong. My code's gonna be slightly off here. That's okay. I don't think anything's going to that. I just gotta type this differently here. Let's make this line 35. For BL, let's see, this is equals 1 to 40. And now we're back on line numbers here. Print. How do you make that? That's a shift Q. Make a little ball. And then you got to do cursor left, like that. Then the shift quote, semicolon. I see. You got to do something like that. And this is going to put another remark here, rem. This is just to say, this is just documenting our code, which is that is a shift Q. There you go. Let's see, line 50. There's only about 8 more lines of this. I'll try and make this quick here. Let's see, equals 1, 2, 5. The keyboard is not quite like the standard keyboard you have today on your computers. It's slightly different because things like the quote key and the equals key, they're in different positions. So you kind of have to stop and figure out, key wise, like you can't just do it like you normally do, like today's PCs. The QWERTY stuff for lettering is all the same, so that translates over really well. Let's see, 60, next TM. We're moving along here. 70, next BL. So this is just, I won't go ahead and explain everything in this. Whoops. I won't explain everything on this one. You can kind of figure it out as you walk through this. Oops, that's actually supposed to be line 75. Rem, move ball left to right. Yeah, we only got another 5 lines or so here. 6 lines. 4BL equals 40 to 1 step minus 1. So now we're counting backwards on that counter. 90. We're going to print. And that's going to be space. Oh, this is interesting. So shift, cursor left, cursor left. See if I do this right or not. That, and then another cursor left, and that, and then do a semicolon. See, I don't know if this is going to come out correctly, but this is the fun of it. And for those who are wondering, yes, you could do this with a Commodore 64 emulator. And I've thought long and hard about, trying to do something like this with an emulator. The problem is, like I mentioned before, the key layouts are different between a PC and an actual Commodore. And it would take me hours to practice that on a regular keyboard and remember the keystrokes that you need for some of these special symbols and characters that I'm putting in right now, just for a simple program like this. I've wanted to type in programs from Compute's Gazette, which I've mentioned before. I would love to start doing like a regular thing with that, and I'm hoping maybe for future streams that we'll do that. So that's the program right there. Let's see if it works. Well, there we go. Let's break that, and we'll clear home. Whoops, and then run it again. Now we've got a ball going back and forth. Actually seems to have worked out pretty well. That's not bad. All right, so there we go. All right, so that's what we can do with just some of the basic examples here, and they have a lot more in here of like different examples we can mess with and stuff like dice rolls, dice simulations, which we could do, programming sprites, a lot more, reading data and stuff like that, making sounds. The book has a lot of that stuff, and I highly recommend if you want to learn more about how to program inside of this computer. The book is an excellent example of that. So I do recommend checking out the code, starting simple. It actually explains like the lines and what they do and stuff too, which is really cool. So that's really neat. Let me show you what else is going on here with this. Let me put this aside for a moment. So what we can do here, the power switch is the key with, using this Commodore 64 Ultimate. If I flick it up, it's a rocker switch that goes, up or down, depending on which way you flick it. You can hold it down 4 seconds to shut it off. You can hold it up for a second and reset it, which I'll do that right now. There we go. If I just click it once, like this, now I get into this nice little menu here, which gives us a lot of cool stuff here. So we can do things like configure the C64, right? There's the disk file browser, which we'll go into in a second. There's the Commodore file search, which is a kind of like a BBS almost, an old school, well, not really an old school BBS, but it's kind of like that. You could start configuring things like if you want to use a RAM expansion, if you want to use specific ROMs for drive emulation, things like that. You want to go turbo boost on, you can want to set up the video. If you want to use NTSC or PAL, sometimes that mattered back in the day, so that can matter. audio setup. If you want to do some, they have a lot of different options here for Ultisid, for your sockets, things like that. Um, and again, the manual explains some of this stuff. You can get a lot of other stuff online. You got your joysticks here. Um, LED lighting can be configured, network services, which I've never actually set up the time zone on this thing. You can actually connect this thing up, whether it's an Ethernet cable, which I have set up for this right now, or you can connect it up to your Wi-Fi if it's compatible. You can do modem setups, like it's modem emulation, the old school, like 300 baud, 1200 baud modems, or even higher. I think 14.4 is the limit, I think. So you can really go old school with this and do what you did back in the day in the 80s when you didn't have internet. You could just try going that way, the old school dial-up modem, and connect up to things. Printers, what kind of emulation you want to use for that. Um, you can configure your user interface. Um, this is your built-in drive. I got to tinker around with this to understand where it's saving these things and where I can kind of manipulate the programs and stuff, because I would love to be able to type in, like, say, a program from Computes Gazette, save it to a diskette, right, which saves it to the computer somewhere, and then make sure I have those files so I can offload them either onto a USB stick so I can use it for my emulator, or I can, you know, save them for posterity or upload them or something like that. That's the thing I'm going to need to tinker with a little bit later. But yeah, so there's the basics there. A lot of this is very configurable. Um, I'll show you the CommoServe thing right now. So this is, again, connecting up to somewhere on the internet. I don't have anything on this right now. I'll just pull up something like a category. We'll say, we'll try apps for now. What kind of apps can we get? If we go down here and hit submit, we've got AnyKey. We got Ultimate Term, which is a terminal emulator. This is, I forget what Jolly Disk does. GUI 64, you can change your graphical user interface for GUIs to Commodore 64 based. Just little things like that. If I look at, the category again for games, these are the games that they have available. 6502 fart bombs. Attack of the Pesky Robots. If you're familiar with the 8-bit guy, that's his. It's a trial version of his game. Jupiter Lander 2 is another one, and I think we have that on the cassette. We'll try that out in a minute. But yeah, so these are ones you have online. If I go back to the disk file browser, I believe it is this one right here, this USB disk at the bottom. You can have an SD card, you have internal memory, you have your RAM disk. I have two flash drives currently plugged in. One is for my legacy. All the stuff I use on the emulator is now on that flash drive. Again, all this stuff is small. You know, a full diskette of data is 170K. Um, not much space at all. You can fit lots of stuff from the Commodore era onto a USB file or an SD card, and you can have loads of fun with this. And again, it doesn't require a lot of storage, a lot of space. You know, big win there. So this is that USB cassette thing I was talking about. That's what we're referring to here. This is what's plugged into the computer. You can see the BBS. This is the terminal emulators that you can get into. I haven't tried these yet. They have some demos out here, which I was messing around with the Commodore Christmas demo. This was one from back in the day that people have preserved, and you can use here. Old men and used cars. Um, I don't know any of these things. I haven't tried these out yet, and I don't want to just put them out there without them, like, they could wind up being something that's a little bit inappropriate. I want to be very careful with that. So I mentioned Geos before. Geos is available here. They do provide it. This is the boot disk. I haven't tried this yet, so I don't know how well this is going to work. We can give it a shot, and maybe we can see what's going on with it. Here's the games. If we look at this, Bruce Lee: Return of Fury. That was something I saw as well. They did a sequel to the original Bruce Lee game. I think I played that once for the emulator. So they did a sequel to that. What else? There's some other ones here. Starstorm. I don't know. I don't recall playing any of these. Luftrauser Z. Oh, Wave the Exploding Fist. Wow. That one I have. That's another karate game. Interesting. Exclusive. The Commodore C. Oh, here's Jupiter Lander 2. That's the README. Jupiter Fracture. I think we have to get that from the CommoServe side because they don't actually include that with it. Here's the Sid tribute. We could try this one. Let's go ahead and do this one. Oh, let's see. If I do this and run the disk, so it should try to boot this up. So again, work in progress here. Just to let you know, the output, the sound should be streaming out to. I can hear it now. The sound should be streaming out to the stream here. Check out the graphics, pretty cool. Commodore 64 Ultimate. The sound is actually coming from the Commodore itself. So I'm hearing that, and I kept it down, turned down a bit low, because I didn't want it to come through on my mic. I can hear it, so I don't know how it's going to sound on the screen. It sounds loud. Okay. Let me see if I can fix that. How's that? Okay. Again, work in progress here. Ben's Wastelands themes were most fans' introduction System 3's opus with Ben's Boings. Ben Daglish does sound familiar. He did the actual As long as you're not getting any reverb, that's good. I can work with the output. There. Try that. So we can actually move on to the next song of this. We'll just go ahead and hit space here and see what else we got. Created for a hidden in-game demo called The Gladiator. So this is just a, looks like it's a tribute to Ben Daglish. I don't know if it's to other people as well, but I do want to call out like what we're looking at here. We're looking at high resolution mode for the Commodore. We're looking at, graphically speaking, a pixelated version, but still a really good look of the person that we're talking about, the tribute to. You can see a good image of his face, even though it's in like grayscale. It still looks pretty good on a 8-bit computer. We're still getting colors on the side here. You're getting the SID sounds for the music, the 3 voices coming in strong. Just, again, this is all being done with 64K of memory. You know, your phones have tons of more memory than this. So it's important to always remember that you know, when we're looking at these things and say, oh yeah, big deal. It's a crappy looking graphic, crappy looking letters, weird looking sounds or weird sounding sounds. Again, it's an 8-bit computer. You know, the computers you use today are 64-bit. They're 8 times as powerful at minimum. Probably a lot more than that. So for the technology of the 80s, this was really cool. What else we got with this? Let's see what the menu gives us here. Oh, I see. So, oh, this is cool. This is showing you the diagram, the block diagram of the 6581 SID chip. I don't know what all that stuff means exactly. It looks like they are some registers and stuff going through sound filter and the voice output. Oh, there's other people there, tributes to, like Richard Joseph. I don't recognize a lot of these names, though. I do recognize Paul. Is it Norman? Yeah, I think that's Norman. Aztec Challenge and Super Huey. I remember playing those games. Last Ninja 2. Commando was another one. Let's go ahead and go to those. See this one. The Pumpkin Man was punctured every time you moved. This is Cauldron 2. I don't know if I ever played that one. Stiff Lip and Company. Zany 1920s chase music. With a drunk violin and a tipsy trumpet. As fast as possible without actually killing the orchestra. This is funny. Forbidden Forest. I remember playing this one, I think. Did you know the Aztec is a woman? It's no fun being sacrificed. I do remember this tune. Yep. This game was a pain in the butt because it was like the temple runs that you play on your phone today, and that's almost you can almost trace it back to this game really, because this was the original type of temple run. So if you play the temple runner on your phone, you can pretty much imagine what this game is like, because it's really you're this Aztec person, this female who's running. You got to either jump high, jump medium, jump low, or duck, depending on what the challenge was and stuff. And you're running, and these guys are throwing spears at you, and from the left and the right. And this music is going on constantly, and you never know where the end is until it just suddenly ends, and then says, okay, here's the next phase. Super Huey was very hard, but very realistic. That is true. For those who don't know what Super Huey is, this is a game that simulated the UH-1X or the UH-1 whatever, the Huey helicopter, So if you're familiar with your helicopters, you know what a Huey is. The game Super Huey pretty much simulated that to the next level, making a Super Huey helicopter, and it was pretty realistic. Matt Gray from The Last Ninja 2. Some 64 fans say this is the best game and the best soundtrack ever on the C64. 18 years old when he made it. Hunter's Moon. And people are still making music in this format, and they're doing like wild things with what you could do with the limitations of the Commodore. Again, as you're reading some of these notes and stuff, these people that we're showing here that they're paying tribute to are just some of the many people who are, they have taken what you can do with the Commodore 64 sound capabilities, which were incredible at the time, and they're just taking them to the extremes, like the limitations just blowing past them. This thing's only supposed to have 3 voices. What I mean by that is, like, you have 3 sound outputs from the Commodore. If you listen close to a lot of the games and listen to the music as I play those games, you'll hear 3 distinct sound effects, usually at any given time. It may be a drum beat, you may hear a little like some sort of guitar method, and then you might hear a rhythm section. It's like, it's like the band Rush, only to the extreme, because then you can change those sounds out, and do it so fast back and forth, from, like, say, a guitar to a piano or to a trumpet or something like that, make it sound different and come back to whatever it is you wanted to come back to. And it makes, when you do that, when you make it move so fast, it almost sounds like you've got more sound outputs than you really do. That's how they're really kind of pushing these limits. There's just one way of them, I suppose. Oh, Commando. This was what I was looking for. I remember playing Commando a lot. Pretty cool. Monty Mole. Sounds pretty spacey. Pretty cool. Let's see, what else can we do with this? We go back to our menu. That is pretty cool. I like that. There's some other music stuff there. Let's go into. I want to do that Jupiter lander one, so let's go to that. If I do the commo serve, category games. Jupiter Lander 2. Instructions. Can I get to it? I don't know if I can. I can't read the instructions apparently. Let's try this. Can we run that? Loading configuration successful. Good. Let's try running this. Run the cartridge. 385K. So that's like more than 2 diskettes worth. That's pretty interesting. Ding-a-ling. Neat. All right, so for those who are not familiar with the original Jupiter lander, that is widely believed to be the very first computer game for the Commodore 64. And Jupiter Lander was just a simple game of taking this lander module that you see like you see on the screen here, and you're trying to land on different platforms on Jupiter. The idea is to land the module in these like caves or deep chasms, right? Without hitting the sides. You can't hit the walls, otherwise the lander explodes. To do it as smoothly as possible, not landing too hard, or else again you'll explode it. And to use as little fuel as possible, because every time you landed successfully, you would get refueled a certain amount, and the landing pads varied in difficulty from like 2x to 5x to I think 10x. And the higher that X value is, the more difficult it was to navigate the chasm, but also the more fuel that you would get back. And you just keep repeating this over and over until you finally ran out of fuel, or you crashed, or too many times, or whatever. All right, so this is I don't know what this is. The drift, okay. Okay, so this is what I kind of remember. Let's try and go on to 2. We didn't have to turn. I remember that. It was like just left, right, side thrusters type of thing. So you're supposed to just kind of gently put this thing down. This is a little more challenging because... There we go, see? So we landed, we refueled, and we're good. Now what? Oh, we have to blast off again. Whoa! Now this is X5. Try and get down there. Use a little fuel. That little meter on the bottom right, obviously, is how severe your landing is. Green is good, yellow and red is obviously worse. Now we gotta blast off here. Whoa. Now we gotta make it 2. Down this little thing. Oh. Whoa. Jeez. Slow down. Slow down. Yeah. This is tough. Oh. No. No. Made it. So So this is a good tribute to the original game, except it's a lot more graphical. The original graphics were very, very simple. And now I guess I have to fly out of here. Oops, I crashed. Let's cut across. Whoa, jeez. Let's go land on this guy. Oh, get over. Nice. Okay, get out of this. This feels great doing this on a, old school joystick and stuff instead of using like cursor keys or an Xbox controller. Whoa, geez, we're flying. Nice. So again, the premise of the game is pretty simple. Again, you're just moving your lander from one spot to the next. It's the challenge is trying to fight things like gravity and stuff like that, and fighting the controls of the spaceship. And I imagine it probably gets a little harder as you go through this game. They could do things like this is they could reverse the control. Oops, I died. Same music, only better from the original as well. Pretty cool. I dig that. Let's see. So now that we've done that, let's see, what else do I want to try with this? Let's go, you know what, let's try Geos first before we go and do some of our old school games. I've been testing this out by playing Jumpman from Epix. So let's see where we can go to here. Quarks, that sounds familiar. Some of these games sound interesting, like Space Moguls. That sounds interesting. Let's see what that one is. Let's run that cartridge. Interesting stuff, man. Oh, it's an atom. Protovision. We're going nuclear. Press fire or the Commodore key, huh? Let's hit fire. Story? The remnant of nature. One at a time, every last unspoiled location on Earth. It's featured in a reality TV show. Okay. Each season, the resort industry is not far behind. Yeah, that makes sense. You take unspoiled nature and then you build a resort on it. That sounds familiar. More reality shows. Well, so we're going up to space apparently. Destination is space. the space yacht. Space moguls. Space yacht. I wonder if this is like Mule in a way. Reality show. Already I'm soured on this, but I'm willing to give it a shot. Game rounds 10. I have no idea what any of this stuff does. Grumbling's on, sure. Start the game. Character select. Press fire on any joystick to join. Alright, so we're human. Everything else is AI. Let's see. Green? Oh, green. Duh. Start. Scanning for landing coordinates. So we're the girl in the hat there in the little middle there. I don't know what we're doing. Oh, no way. This is Mule. 10 C's. This is going to be a clone of Mule. Oh, that's hilarious. But it's probably going to be a little bit more in-depth, too. Land grant. Press fire keys. Okay, we got a river plot. That's good. Yeah, this is Mule. That's hilarious. Okay. Enter town. Hit the pub. That's hilarious. Okay, so we gotta go get the mule, and then we gotta take you to that, and then we gotta go out. Come on, mule. Oh, this is funny. Yes, we've installed him. I hope it's the right one. Enter town and go to the pub. Yep, this is definitely Mule. That's hilarious. I wonder what possessed him to make a game like this. Oh no, raiders are gonna take stuff. So this is selling, let's see, ore. We have no ore. There's our food. Usage is right there. No spoilage. We have lots of food. I made the most food. I'll go sell. We're going to wind up spoiling it anyway, so. It's hard to follow this. I have no idea what we're doing here. What are we buying? Oh, this is diamonds of some sort? Rare? Okay. Energy? So there's a little bit more to this than... Oh, I'm keeping. I know we're going to get spoilage, but I'd rather keep my energy than try to sell it. Layer 1. Cash, assets, total. Yeah, we're going to be in last place. That's usually how it starts with this game. Nope, maybe not. We're in third. We're actually only $7 behind. That's pretty neat. Oh, I see. It's like a fog of war thing, huh? Oh, let's see if we can get the land right next to that one. There, that's a good one. We'll use that for energy. It's interesting because it's different than the old square method, where it just kind of go across like the old mule. This one kind of goes in a circle. So that's different. I wonder, so what is he making there anyways? I didn't see what he was making. Promoting an energy drink. Awarded you $75 and lost 4 seconds to intestinal issues. Oh boy. So you reduce time, but you gain more money. Oh, so that's me, huh? We need something like this. Buy that. And we want to do equip materials. I wonder what that does. That's going to be that. Come on. Put. Get there. So he's making that. Oh, what is that? Equip materials? Where did you put that? In the forest? Oh, interesting. So this is something I'm not familiar with. I don't know what that does. This is, I guess, where instructions might help, you know? This guy, he's also going to do that. He's going to equip materials. And he's putting it in the forest region to do something, which is interesting. Here's our production. Yeah, I got some energy already. That's good. Nice. Nice. Heavy rain incoming. Market is flooding. No market trading this turn. Oh, interesting. This is ore. Nobody has any ore. So that's easy. Food. I probably have some spoilage here. We could sell this to the market. I'm gonna sell. Let me sell some things. Materials. I guess I'm gonna buy. Oh, I bought one. What is this, rare? You know, any rares? We're not doing that one. I don't know why they go through this if there's nothing in the market to sell. I'll sell. So if I go down here, what happens? Apparently I can't sell to the market. That's interesting. But yeah, this is definitely a mule clone. That is so interesting. It looks like it's an enhancement on mule. So I'm curious to like read the instructions on this to see like, you know, what do they add? Obviously the materials thing is something else. They have this little fog of war type of thing going on too. Pretty neat though. All right, let's go. Let's see. I want to go back out. We're going to do the disk file browser, and I'll go to my generic flash. What shall we play? Let's see. I was doing Jumpman. I could show you Aztec Challenge. That might be a fun one to go for. It's a tape. Whoops. Enter. Run. I apologize for my camera antics here. The Commodore is over here, so I'm trying to position myself right. I like the golden glow that this is giving me, though. That's pretty neat. Cosme logo, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, until you press one of the function keys, the screen will display short previews of the next 7 levels. Function key F1, so that's what we want. Begin the challenge with the fire button. Port 2 only, which we've got. Run stop key starts the game. All right, give that a shot. Starting level 1, phase 1. Commodore key for level skip. Yeah, sure. There's that music again. Okay, run toward the temple. This is the gauntlet, by the way. Run toward the temple, dodging spears thrown from either side. Pull back on the stick to duck, push forward to jump. Now, the spears are positioned in such a way that you can only do one or the other successfully. I don't believe you can jump something even if it's like a high spear that you're supposed to duck. So you kind of have to time this right. And why is the fire button not working? It says port 2. I could try and switch it out, see if that matters. Take it easy, Foxfire. I'll probably be ducking out here soon here as well. Fire button not work. Let me see what's going on there. Oh, there we go. Ugh. What? So you are this Aztec. You got a duck. You got that music in the background, see? Ah! As we get closer, the temple in the background there is going to increase in size. This is hard. Like, you gotta, like, be quick on the reaction to see the spear coming from either side and know quickly to jump or to duck. I remember this being challenging. You only have like a split second to react to this. This is crazy. And you have to look from both sides too, so you kind of have to not focus on one side. I almost ducked there when I shouldn't have. Hey, we made it. Not bad. The stairs. Run up the stairs of the temple while stone blocks are rolled down at you. Push left and right on the stick to move. Oh, look at this. I remember this. Ah! Ice cubes. Look out! Oh, this was funny. You know, Cosme games, uh, like Super Huey and Aztec Challenge, I've always regarded them as like a little bit subpar. Like, you look at these graphics, they're not like special. Like, I've seen better graphics in other games. But the gameplay itself is challenging enough that you want to play the game. So yeah, these blocks look silly. The character looks a little bit silly. You'd think maybe they could do a little bit more detail, more color, more, you know, textures, whatever. But I mean, the basic gameplay is there, though, you know? I mean, there is a challenge to this. This one isn't so bad. You can kind of judge these blocks, and it's not too bad. It's only when you, like, run yourself into a corner that's a real problem. Nice. The temple. Enter the temple through a series of rooms protected by various devices. Hold stick left to stop, right to jump. Yeah, I remember this one too. I do want to point out, this is the first time I've had a chance to really look at the screen and take a peek at the detail in terms of the scan lines on the Commodore 64 Ultimate. It is really, the scan lines are there. What I mean by scan lines is if you look really close at the letters, you can see little lines in there. You can see little tiny lines in each of the letters and the numbers and things like that that go right across those letters and numbers. You know, there's tiny little things, they call them scan lines, if you're not familiar with that. That emulates what the original Commodores looked like back then because they had a different way of displaying video back to TV screens and old monitors that today's monitors don't have the issues with. Excuse me. So, but it's also really crisp. Like when I'm looking at this thing on my little monitor here, there's very little glare, there's very little bleed over that I'm looking at in this, and it looks really, really sharp from my perspective here. It's really neat. I really wish the fire button would work. There we go. Whoa. That's right, we had to run. We had to jump. Ah! Splat! I gotta start all over. Jump those things. Dodge the butter. Jump those things. Dodge the spears. Dodge the butter. More dodging of the butter. That was pretty easy. The vermin. Pass through the dark heart of the temple, avoiding the friendly fauna of Mexico. Push up for high jumps, back for low. Yeah, I remember this one too. You jump, low jump. Just high or low jumps. Again, the gameplay's pretty simple, but it is challenging, you know? So you jump that one, you do small jumps. Oh. Ah, I'm dead. I don't know how you're supposed to jump 2 spiders like that. I'll avoid hitboxes now. Dead! I think I have 3 lives left here. Jump! Jump! This is supposed to be a woman? Interesting. Oh boy. Made it. Again, Cosme. Like I said, it's a challenging game, but you wish they could do a little bit more with the graphics. Like those backgrounds, the background things, is that supposed to be trees? Am I supposed to be in like a river? What am I doing here? That's not even fair. You had 3 things in a row like that. Jumping spider! This is silly. Alright, how am I supposed to jump all that? Wow. Gotta time that just right. Again, it's just 3 things in a row. How am I supposed to jump all that? Poo-poo. I'll do it one more time here. Choplifter's coming to mind right now. I think I might try some choplifter. Ah! Snake! Ugh. It's just the way these things are positioned sometimes. You just can't win. Like, they put 3 things in a row like that. What are you going to do? Snake jumping right in front of you. You just kind of have to hope for the best, really. I will say this. It does give you the sense of running. So they did a good job with that. But, again, the graphics feel like they're a little subpar. And that's not just with this game. It just feels like... What the heck? I got attacked by a snake I couldn't possibly jump over. It just feels like the graphics are a little bit lesser than like some other games that I've played before, you know, and you just wonder like what could have been with games that Cosme puts out, like this one, Super Huey. You kind of get the feeling of Super Huey as well. Whoops, I messed up on that one. And one day I will try that one just to show you. If I remember the controls for that one, I'll play that one out pretty well. Because there's a specific like startup sequence you got to do for the helicopter and, you know, shutdown sequence and all these other things you can do. But I used to play that a lot. I was a big Airwolf fan back in the day. And that was the closest, I think... I messed up. I think that was the closest anyone could get. I mean, there was an actual... I keep messing up here. There was an actual Airwolf game, but it was just a 2D side-scroller. It had the music, yes, but other than that, it was just meh. Super Huey, you actually felt like a helicopter simulator, and um, you know, it was like playing Gunship for Microprose. It was very similar. And they had different missions, which also made it interesting too. You had the different missions, um, so it wasn't just like shoot 'em up type stuff all the time. It was like you know you actually had to fly the helicopter. You had to find certain things. You had to do the steps of the mission. Um, so it was pretty cool. If you really liked playing Airwolf, that was one of the best ways to do it, in my opinion, was to play that game. Not to mention they did actually have voice um, capabilities in there. Like the game would actually talk to you using speech synthesis. I'm getting tired of playing this level. Let's switch this out. I just ran over a scorpion. Wow. Okay, let's go back. Ball Blazer. Breakdance. Wow. Here's Bruce Lee, the original. Choplifter. Let's do that one. Oh, I don't remember which one it is now. Let's see. I think it's this one. Let's run that disc. Well, okay then. Got different games on here. Ms. Pac-Man, Centipede. Wow. What's funny is that the Commodore 64 Ultimate is actually emulating the sounds that the disk drive used to make. I'm hearing grinding sounds like rah, rah. And it's making those sounds right now, even though I don't think it has to. There's no mechanical parts that are running in this thing. I hope this works. It stopped moving. It stopped making sounds. In the emulator, I could actually get a little readout to see what track and sector it was on trying to load the disk image. So I don't have that right now, so I can't tell if this thing's actually working or not. So I might have to try again here. Uh-oh. Wait, I gotta go to this. Let's try that one. How about Endless Lives? No, that's cheating. I think this is port 1 if I'm not mistaken. Let me try switching this. Playing this with a joystick is going to be incredible. Yes, it is. First sortie. Here we go. Get back to my feeling here. Doing this with a joystick. Wow. Oh boy. So I have a problem instantly. I can't turn my helicopter like I used to. Can I? I can't turn it. You used to be able to turn it so it's head on to your camera here. I can't come up with that. It's just not good. Yeah, this is no good. I can't hit the tank. to be face onto it to be able to do that. It used to be you just tap the button and it would move. Huh. That's a problem. Let's try the other one. Maybe it's just the game. Let's try this guy. Could be that one particular one was cracked. Webersatz. Von Versuch. Nice, it's German. Nope, same problem. I think this is a joystick issue. It used to be you had to tap the button, but all it's doing now is it's so quick with the trigger, I think, that I can't really do it. I don't think... I'm trying to think if I could do it through the keyboard here. Well, did something move it? I'm just smashing keys right now, just trying to see if anything will... Oh, did it lock up? It locked up. Oh, there we go. One of these keys, okay. That goes up. That goes left. How about down? Can I do it down? Oh, that's left. So it's control 1 and 2. That's pause. Space does that. Oh. Oh, okay. All right. It used to be if you held the button down or just tapped it a certain amount of seconds, or just milliseconds, it would switch. All right, well, maybe I can make this work. Most of the time I would fire in this mode anyway, so... So I can just blow these guys away. Get in. Yeah, over here. Over here. Get in here. Run, Load Runner, run. Pick up the guy. Get up. Oh. Hey. I loved how these guys little hey, just waving. Hey. It's funny. It's like, hey. Ah. Come on over here. Let's go play. Yeah, I got you. Hey, pick me up. I'm over here. Get the tank. Move a little closer. There's 3 guys. Last guy, hurry! Get him in. There you go. Perfect run. Just don't crash. No, don't crash. Get across the border. Disembark. It's a little touchy, these joystick controls here. I love that they run off and then they turn around and wave at you. Thanks! It's funny. This is a nice little trip down memory lane here. Love to go, hey! Alright, so this is going to be a challenge because I actually have to turn... Oh, I don't worry about the jets so much. I can avoid them. I can shoot the tanks. This level's not so bad. This is actually a level 2. Where the jets aren't so bad. They're annoying. Because you have to watch out like when they drop the rockets. And the tanks. You have to clear the tanks. You got to watch out these things, see? Oh, they opened the building for me, which is nice. Now everything's slowing down a little bit. Don't hit my dudes. This is what you want right here. Really close to the house. Everybody piles out. You get all 16. You're good there. So now let's just avoid those jets. Just don't get hit by the jets. Because they will do that, see? If you don't avoid them, they will shoot those rockets right into you, drop you down, and boom, you lose all 16. So I got a perfect run here so far. Very good. Alright, here we go. Let's see if we can do the third house. Oh, so you gotta watch those rockets. Just avoid this. It's easy to do once you get the pattern, but you can't be... Oh, and then you got this dude, which you can't shoot this way. You gotta watch out for that little satellite. He'll track onto you. Oh boy. Oh boy. Gotcha. Watch out for those jets. This tank. Tank! Don't open that guy up. Leave that house closed. We don't need to be rescuing a bunch of other dudes here. Alright, come on. Back out. Get over here. Hurry up. Getting close to the house again. You get them all in real fast. I'm gonna hit this guy. Oh, crap. I gotta watch out for the satellite because he homes in on you. There we go. Hit this jet. I can't shoot him. Okay. Ah! Don't crash. Not being able to turn with a button is annoying. You can't shoot these stupid jets either. Another satellite, really? Where are you getting the hardware for this? My friends. Again! Alright, get down. Start running the... Ah! Don't hit anybody. I'm surprised he didn't kill that guy. Whoa. Whoa. This is very difficult to do without being able to do this all through the joystick. Oh, and I'm dead. Damn. That was rough. Having to switch using the spacebar is a pain. Let's go see what we can do here. Oh, I crashed. Alright, well, we'll finish this game off here and I'll call it a night. Stupid satellite. Well, okay, that's the game. End day. Well, that was fun. It was good playing this stuff kind of like it was meant to be played. Old school, using a one-button joystick on an actual Commodore. Honestly, I played it mostly looking at OBS's stream here and not looking at the actual screen. So, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing that or what, but it was cool. It was definitely cool checking out all this stuff, checking out some of the SID demos and things like that. There's a lot of cool things already out there. I do recommend people checking out. I think, I do want to keep using this. I want to keep using the Commodore and keep playing it like this. I feel like it's a better experience than the actual emulator in a way. So I will probably keep trying to do this as I play more of the Commodore stuff. I don't know if we're going to return to it anytime soon, though, is the thing. And the reason why is, again, we have, 3 other games that we're trying to do. And I also mentioned I want to do covert action as well. I think I'm going to do covert action on Thursday. I'm going to hopefully try and play a little bit of it offline just to get familiar with it again, see where I left off in my saved game, um, tinker around with that a little bit, just get the feel for it so we can come back and have a positive stream on Thursday. Um, I have to look at where I left off in the pattern for gaming. I think, where did we leave off? Give me 1 second here. I'll find out. I left off, according to all our streams, the last one we did was Final Fantasy VII. That's right. We did Diablo before that, and then Pool of Radiance. So I'm looking at Thursday. Will probably be covert action. Get that little James Bond feel going on there. We'll come back to Pool of Radiance on Sunday. And then after that, we will do Diablo. That's right. So we're going to do Covert Action, Pool of Radiance, Diablo. As for Pool of Radiance, I could theoretically do this on the Commodore 64 Ultimate. What would I gain out of that? I'd get to use the joystick. Actually, I wouldn't gain out of that because I would not be able to use my save states like I've been using in the emulator. So I have to use the save states. So we're going to do that. Okay, so we'll use the save states and we'll use the emulator for Pool of Radiance until I can figure out a way that we can do save states on this thing, if at all possible. Don't know if it is possible. I know Pool of Radiance you could do save game, and that's fine and all that stuff, but honestly, the save states in the emulator are so much faster, so much easier to work with. That is a big advantage I can see for some of this, like the longer playing games in the Commodore um, environment. Longer playing games that would require you to save to the disks or something like that. Save states make sense. Emulator makes sense there, unless I can do it on the Commodore 64 Ultimate here. Action games like this one, like Choplifter, I might actually stick with this one, or things that I want to type a game in, program it in. I would probably use the 64 Ultimate here. But it's worth exploring. There's so much more to this I haven't touched yet, so we will bring it back and we'll keep doing more stuff on it. So anyway, this was a lot of fun. I'm gonna wrap it up tonight here, so I can get to bed and have a good work week. I hope everybody else has a great work week this week. It was good being on vacation. Got a chance to recharge my batteries a little bit. I had a great day with the grandkids today. A lot of quality time with them. We got to see the Super Mario Galaxy movie today, so very happy about that. That was a lot of fun to see. The kids enjoyed it. So yeah, we had a lot of good stuff here today. The oldest grandkid, I actually watched Back to the Future 3 with her last night. That was fun because she was heavily invested in watching that movie and how it turned out. She was literally on the edge of her seat watching that one. That was a lot of fun to see through her eyes. Anyway, this is 21st Century Jedi reminding you, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Okay? Now more than ever in these days. Fins up, bubbles up. I sincerely hope you all have a great work week. I hope it goes by quickly. I hope you all have a good fun time. Make the work light and easy. I'm hoping for the same. And I'm looking forward to getting back to the streaming schedule here now that I've had my week off and stuff. Again, Covert Action on Thursday, Pool of Radiance on Sunday. Follow it up with Diablo 2 next Thursday. And again, keep working those 3 games in rotation until we finish off another one. So that's going to be it for me tonight, guys. I appreciate everybody watching this. We're 4 away from 50 followers, by the way. I'm hoping that we can kind of get to that 50 follower mark. If anyone is out there wanting to watch this out and wanted to kind of boost my follower count, I always appreciate you guys following me and stuff and everything that you do for me. So take care, everyone. Have a great night. Have a great week. I will see y'all Thursday evening.